I'm going to call this meeting to order. We're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So we do have a couple announcements tonight. On Wednesday, June 8th, from 7 p.m. to midnight, there will be a temporary water service interruption to South Grafton Water District customers from 83 Main Street to 125 Main Street and Sunnyside Terrace. Once water is restored, there will be some discoloration. Customers should run cold water until the water runs clear. If you have additional questions or concern, contact the district office at 508-839-0512. The Grafton's Farmer Market will be open on Wednesday, June 15th from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. here at the Municipal Center. Vendors will set up on the south side of the building near the entrance off Brigham Hill Road. So first up on the agenda is the Fire Chief contract and appointment.
Deputy, you want to come up and sit down?
Absolutely.
Congratulations again.
Thank you.
So we can have Ray just run over some of the details of your contract real quick, if that's all right.
Yep.
Yep. Share the first slide. You can put that on the screen?
Yep.
That's not it. There it is. Okay. Starting early.
I know, huh? Well, I had the pleasure of negotiating with the deputy, and it was a tough negotiation. But we've agreed to a 3-year agreement from July 1st, 2022 to June 30th, 2025. And the compensation is $140,000 plus 2% increases, pending the performance evaluation. The dedicated chief's car, uniform allowance, coverage of professional dues and subscriptions, and continued education and professional development courses, and compensatory time at the discretion of the select board. Evaluations will be done at 180 days and then yearly after the 180-day mark, and then the standard benefits for health and life insurance. Chief, do you have any questions?
No questions or concerns. We covered them all, I think.
Okay.
All right.
I move that the board is this signatory for the entire board or just the chairman? I move that the board sign the fire chief's contract, appointing Eric Matthew as the new fire chief.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Declared motion carried. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Congrats.
And
Don't go anywhere.
I'm not going anywhere.
I think we're gonna try to do a little ceremony in a few weeks as well. I don't know if you're aware of that or if it was supposed to be a surprise. So sorry if it was, because it's not now. But when more
Madam
details.
Chair, do we have the contract?
Do we have the contract right now? I physically don't have it in front of me, but usually there's a folder that we pass out and sign off when,
He's got to sign it too.
that's a great point. I don't have the.
Okay.
So we can, we'll work on that. I think William's all over that.
That sounds like a TA office thing.
Yeah,
That we'll
yeah.
just
I just
leave
want
it
to point
there.
out that you guys wanted a strong chief, so that's your job.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
fair
no
enough.
kidding.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
totally,
Just point that out.
totally
Yeah.
agree.
You'd like me to do something.
If I had a gavel, I would slam it down right now.
But maybe
Yeah, that'll be good.
you can head down to the TA's office and sign it, and we'll sign it at the end of the meeting, and then everybody's happy. Does that work?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not rushing out of here, so.
Perfect. It's a great meeting. You should stay for the whole thing.
You want to switch?
Yeah.
No.
Oh,
Hey, you'll get over hanging around here.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
I think that's it, right?
Just Will, can you print that up so Eric can sign it?
He's doing it right now.
Oh, okay, good. So he doesn't have to hang around, so.
Is there anything else that we should be signing tonight, like a folder? Usually that's, I don't see that here.
I'll reach out to Cindy and double check.
Okay, thanks. All right,
All right.
thank you.
Thanks.
And Chief, you know that you can't touch anything until July 1st, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, all the old rules apply, right?
Yeah, you do. They haven't changed.
All right, next up on the agenda is Tufts Institutional Biosafety Committee. We're gonna do an appointment for that.
Sure. I apologize if I butcher this in advance, but I move the board vote to approve Cheeto Kativu as the community representative for Tufts Institutional Biosafety Committee for an indefinite term.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Declare the motion carried. All right, and then we have some town administrator appointments.
Sorry. Following up with Cindy.
Did I just read those? Or?
Yeah,
Do we need to
so
discuss?
I don't know if Evan wants to tee it up at all, but Recreation Department and,
No, we were able to fill our rec department as well as dispatch position. So just continuing to fill the slots as they present themselves.
awesome,
So looking forward to working with both candidates.
perfect.
My only other question was, do we need to insert the effective date for the recreation department offices?
Yes, June 8th. Thank you.
Okay. I move the board vote to affirm the appointment of Mary Seven as office assistant, Grafton Recreation Department, effective June 8th, 2022.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Declare the motion carried.
Okay. Any discussion on Zach?
Nope.
Just going? All right.
Nope. Just keep going.
I move the board vote to affirm, the appointment of Zachary Kelly as a part-time public safety dispatcher.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Declare the motion carried. All right, and first, under new business, in the introduction of new hires for the Grafton Police Department. Chief Repo?
Good evening.
How are you?
Just good. Just wanted to introduce two of our newest members. And maybe give you a little bio so you know who they are when you see them. I'm going to call Officer Corinne Diaz and Officer Anna Paget. To the front, please. Okay, Officer Corinne Diaz. She's a lifelong resident of Milford. We won't hold that against her. After graduating high school, she attended Worcester State University, where she earned a bachelor's degree in criminal justice with a minor in psychology. Officer Diaz worked as a deputy assessor for the town of Southborough, and she's not going anywhere. She's staying right in
I
the
wouldn't
police
either.
department. Okay.
Cops are usually more liked than the assessor's office.
And she served in Southborough for approximately 2 years. She then self-sponsored to the first recruit officer class held at the Quinsigamond Community College Police Academy, graduating at the end of May. So she's been doing a great job. She did very well at the police academy. We had raving reviews from her instructors, her DIs, and all. And I want to introduce Officer Corinne.
Nice to meet you all.
Nice to meet you too.
Nice to meet you.
Welcome aboard.
Do you have any
Thank you
questions?
so much.
Questions? No? Okay, right now she's undergoing field training with Officer McNevich.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
and she'll be doing that for about 12 weeks or so before she's allowed to go out by herself. Next officer, Anna Paget, is a lifelong resident of Grafton and attended the Grafton Public Schools. She's a member of the Grafton Honor Society and participated in multiple JV and varsity sports. After high school, she attended cosmetology school and had a brief career working in cosmetology. While working, I thought this was a nice note. While working in the salon, she met a female police officer who inspired her to break into the world of public safety. She did that, and we were honored to get her aboard as a dispatcher back in 2018, where she served impeccably. Great dispatcher, and she was selected for the position of police officer after taking the police entrance examination. She attended the 29th Recruit Officer class held at the Boylston Police Academy, and she graduated the end of May also. Officer Anna Paget,
Nice to meet you
anybody
all.
has any questions?
Congratulations.
Congratulations, both of you.
That's it.
Look forward to seeing you on the mean streets of Grafton.
She'll also be undergoing 12 weeks of field training with Officer Jensen Plotkin. So she's doing very well, and we anticipate no issues. We get raving reviews once again from her instructors in the academy, doing very well in the class, and from the officers that she's working with so far. So
Great.
happy to have them both aboard.
Great.
Fantastic. Nice to meet you both.
Welcome.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
And then you're also here for the Junior Police Academy recruitment video?
Yes, I think you should have that.
Yep.
If you want, I can just go over the Youth Academy very quickly before you see the video. Okay. We have a student academy, we'll call it, on July 18th through the 22nd. And it's going to run from 8 to 3 p.m. And we're inviting incoming 7th, 8th, and 9th grade students to participate. We've had good reviews and a great class the last time we did it, which was pre-COVID, and we're hoping to get another full house. The Youth Academy is a police-led program offered to students who have an interest in law enforcement, military, or emergency services. The program offers a variety of activities and lessons aimed at building leaders in our community. Not all of them want to become police officers. They just want to get the experience and see what it's like and learn the teamwork that's involved. You know, a lot of the impressions that are out there from television and all that, and I think some of these students, and they admit it freely on the first day, that, you know, they're not interested in becoming a police officer, maybe federal, but they want to know what's going on out there. And you'd be surprised when we do the crime scene classes and all that, how much they already know from television. And they get a little disappointed too that you can't find a fingerprint or whatever at every crime scene and know exactly who did what. The students will be exposed to many activities and speakers in the field of law enforcement. Sample of the speakers and events that will be scheduled include evidence collection, crime scene investigation, CPR, first responder classes, canine demonstration, a visit to the Worcester County House of Corrections. We're hoping to still be able to do that. Motor vehicle law with mock traffic stops. The Central Mass Law Enforcement Council SWAT team will come down with the Bearcat. Lieutenant Minardi is the deputy commander on that team. So they'll also learn team building, leadership exercises. We'll have the life flight. If all goes well, life flight will come down and land. Possibly the Mass State Police Air Wing will come down, and they'll also be doing marching and drill exercises. The application deadline is June 10th. It was moved up so we can get more people in, and a video was created, I believe, with Bob and the officers there from our last academy class. You wanna... I'm gonna turn up the sound a little bit, but that's okay. More effect when you can hear the walls. That's
Very
it.
nice.
Very nice.
If anybody has any questions, be happy to answer what I can.
So do they get the shirt as part of the academy? They all
They
have
get
it.
shirts, they get bags, they get hats,
Oh.
they get all kinds of,
Firearms,
Yeah.
it's great.
It's amazing. Yeah.
go out in the woods, yeah. Fortunately, he's not teaching any of the
Yeah.
classes, so
Yeah, that's good. That's a good thing.
we're safe here.
Do you teach them the paperwork aspect of the job?
I don't think they get so much of that, but, you know,
Great
there's
writing.
always a surprise.
Ninth grade.
I'll bring it up. I'll bring it up. But, yeah, if anybody else has questions, and we're hoping for a great class, and we invite you, you know, if you'd like to come down and see it sometime, let us know. Especially when a helicopter lands, that's always a highlight. So,
Very nice.
That's great.
okay,
Well, thank you very much. Very
Thanks so much.
informative.
thank you.
It was nice meeting everybody tonight. All right.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Next up on the agenda is the 4th of July parade.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
So, just wanted to give everyone an update on how the 4th of July planning is going. We have a parade route. It's going to do we're going to go the same parade route as the Memorial Day parade. So we'll start at North Street Elementary School, come down North Street, cross over to Millbury Street, and then take a left as soon as they pass the Commons and end in that parking area in front of the pediatric clinic and the Congressional Church. I am waiting on the Congressional Church to get back with me. I expect it to be tomorrow on if we can use their parking lot. We've got quite a few participants interested. We just sent out an application. That's how I'm going to confirm if they're actually going to attend, and I'll get more details on what they're planning to do. As of right now, Holden Farms is looking to do a float. The Taekwondo, Premier Taekwondo wants to walk in the parade, and then they also want to do a demonstration on the Commons. We're working with the Girl Scouts to see if they want to do face painting. So quite a lot that's really coming together. The other thing that we're doing is a doggy mayor competition. You might have seen this going out on Facebook already. So basically, people can submit a picture of their dog and explain why their dog should be mayor. And then we're going to do a public voting poll to get to the top 3 doggy mayors. And then the day of the parade, we'll do judging there beforehand. Quite Fetching has offered to do a key to the city dog biscuit and a couple of other prizes we have a couple of other prizes for the top 3. So we're looking forward to it. We're working with Evan to get the doggy mayor out and about in some of the special events. So
The town clerk will give them the #1 registration for the next year too. Yep.
I talked to Candy about that too, so that will be great. It's a quick down and dirty for what's going on. Do y'all have any questions?
What time is it?
So the parade will start at noon.
Okay.
The doggy mayor competition, I'm still working out the time. I want to make sure that I have enough time to do the judging and then get we would like for them to actually walk in the parade as well. So.
Great. When would you like applications to be back by?
I'm looking at the end of the 3rd week of June, which I don't know off the top of my head. I think it's the 23rd of June. If we can get them back around that time, then that would be great.
Okay.
And then we also have a lot of different advertising going out. We had sent out a mass email to the EDC business email address list, and we have a video that get. Yep. So we did a promo that will go out on the local channel, and then Cindy tomorrow will send out an invite to all the select boards as well to get everybody to come out. Excuse me, all the committees and boards. So if you want to come out and walk in the parade, let me know.
Awesome.
Definitely.
William's got the video.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess we have the video here, so get to look at my handsome face some more.
Hey Grafton, this year we're putting on a 4th of July parade and we need your help. Because what's a parade without floats and people in the parade? So if you've got a nice car, you want to decorate your bike, heck, even if you can just walk on stilts, give us a shout and we'll put you in. We also need volunteers to get this parade going. And finally, we need you, Grafton, to come out and watch the parade because we're putting this on for you. If you have questions or you'd like more information, hit us at the email address at the bottom of the screen or check us out on our Facebook page.
Nice.
Bob did a lot of CGI to make that work. So.
I was hoping
Bob's
Paul would
busy.
be here so I could prove that my voice wasn't on that video.
Did a voiceover for me. Any other questions?
Thank you for doing this. It's going to be fun. I'm really excited.
Yeah, we're really excited. Hearing a lot of positive feedback on it. So
Sounds like a great event.
Yeah.
thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you. Good night.
Next up is Eastland Partners, review the LIP proposal. And tonight we're going to be focusing mostly on their Upton Street project. That's a lot of the information that was in the packet.
Thank you. Madam Chair, members of the board, my name is Clay Williams from Eastland Partners. Joined by me is Chad Boardman and Chris Horn. And as you said, we're going to focus tonight on the Upton Street project. We just scheduled a follow-up neighborhood outreach meeting for our Pleasant Street neighbors, which we are holding on the 15th next week, 5:30 p.m. in this room. I sent out a list of flyers to everybody within 300 feet of the property for those who wish to participate remotely. We've had some meetings with Matt and also with Evan and Kristen Goldrick, your town planner, to discuss these projects and alter our proposal a little bit, just to make sure we can kind of give you guys, our best hand for this project. So I guess with that, I'd open it up for any questions. I submitted a draft approval letter. This is based on the letter that was sent for our Auburn project, and then also a request for a reduction in sewer fees, of which we would donate 75% back to the town for your general fund. And we have also altered the proposal to incorporate 50% and 60% AMI units to increase the scope of affordability, which is based on your approved housing production plan. And we also added a couple more 3-bedroom units. The Affordable Housing Trust said that was a big need in town. So we got, I think, 2 more of those in there.
Did you want to start off with anything, or?
No, I mean, Clay's captured it pretty well. I guess, yeah, Eastland were a little surprised, I think, with the idea that we would break these projects up in the discussions and whatnot, and because obviously they've got to hire a management company to manage the units across the 2 potential developments, and it works. There's material purchase efficiencies and having efficiencies of crews working across 2 projects in town and all that kind of stuff. So I see it as a strong, continued kind of step towards partnership with the town for them to do it this way. So I appreciate that. Mm-hmm. Aside from that, we just talked about, expressed the Affordable Housing Trust's desire to have as many 3-bedroom units as possible, the AMI requirements, the continued concerns that some of the boards were getting from residents on Pleasant Street. So, recommended that they do another kind of follow-up community engagement meeting with them. So they've sort of pretty much ticked all the tick boxes as far as our discussions go. So thanks for that. There wasn't really anything else that came out of those discussions from my end. So.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions or concerns about the Upton Street project?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
we can't reduce the sewer connection fees.
Right.
So.
Yeah, no, they know that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a
So that's,
request from
well,
the
it's
sewer
made out,
department and then-
it's made out to the board, and it's got to go to
Yep.
the sewer commissioners for
Yep.
that, so.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I did see that, and I figured things progress, then
Yeah.
we can just amend that.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Real simple.
Okay. All right.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
couple questions. So, new to the board, but I was here for your first presentation. How many floors are the buildings?
So they're 3-story walk-ups.
Okay.
Some of them will be walkouts, so there will be a 4th floor below the entry level in the back of the building, but it'll be 3 floors up from the grade.
Okay. And then how many spots all told in terms of parking?
We used 1.7 spaces per
Yeah.
unit.
Okay.
So in this one, I believe it was around 270.
And when it says garages, is that like an enclosed garage or are these
Yeah.
parking spaces?
Right.
Okay.
So can we pull up the site plan, Will?
Thanks.
So if you'll see, kind of in the bottom left-hand corner of that parking lot, the smaller linear building, it's a 1-story garage, with a number of just regular residential garage doors for those who wish to, park their cars inside.
Okay. And then the rest of the gray is just the pull-in lot.
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions or concerns?
Just one, what's your lot coverage?
It's somewhere around 50%. I don't know the exact number off the top of my head, but it's probably 50% or a little bit lower. For the portion that we're keeping, when you factor in the extra 5.5 acres of land that we'll be donating, obviously it's much smaller. But for that parcel, it's probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 40%.
Yeah, I believe the parcel's, what, 15.4 acres?
Right.
And we're deeding, what, 5.2
Five
or
and a half.
5.5 open space?
Okay.
And you didn't feel that there was a need to do a second outreach for this location?
We didn't get the kind of response, and none of those neighbors submitted letters to your board as well. So we filled our initial memorandum. We submitted, I believe, back in maybe the end of March. Kind of covered all their concerns.
And of course, you have a second round at the ZBA level for everybody gets notified via certified mail, and any questions would obviously be answered at that level, of course.
So just a couple comments. We've seen they did a really good job, I think, with the community impact analysis. So this project has a positive benefit from tax rate standpoint. Relatively modest usage of town resources and whatnot. And because we're above the 25% affordability threshold, this would, all the units in the whole development would count against our SHI. So we would be able to maintain that safe harbor status for, another few years, as we have, from my standpoint, I'd strongly encourage the board to support this project because there's a lot of benefits for the town. We haven't had really any concerns registered, and everything we've asked them for, they've given us. So,
Just for clarification for me, so Browns Road is to my right, you're probably your left when you're looking at it there?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, it's right on the right-hand side.
I mean, I see like along here, it says, indicates parcel 1157 Browns Road, but then it kind of swings around on the back end there.
Right. So it's right below the D in Eastland. I believe that's Browns, right?
No, that's,
Or
No, it's pretty much along the side there, it seems to me. I'm just curious about how it swings along the bottom, that's all. I'm just trying to orient myself a little bit. I went up there and I've seen the property, so I'm just trying to. So on my bottom right, looking here.
Yeah.
It indicates that that's Browns Road unit as well, or an abutter, in addition to.
that house in the bottom right corner is on Browns Road.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yep, that's Browns Road.
Yeah.
Yeah, that runs right below that D running over here. If you're familiar with that old nail shack that
Yeah.
burnt down, that's
Yeah.
like just about where our entrance road is.
Which is, sorry, where, up top then?
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. So towards the top, right
Yep.
below the word Upton Street on 140.
Mm-hmm.
That nail shack, which is a pretty common kind of landmark.
Yeah,
It's basically right at where our entrance road is.
okay, yeah, that's easier, yep,
Yep.
thanks. Okay,
I just pulled it up on the GIS.
Yeah, I was about to say Google Maps would have been
Yeah.
helpful too, but either way.
thanks.
If there's no more questions and concerns, I can take a motion for the endorsement letter.
Okay. I move the board vote to approve the endorsement letter, draft the endorsement letter, sign the endorsement letter.
So moved.
Any of those?
All the above?
Yeah, so you're gonna vote to authorize the chair to sign
sign.
the letter of endorsement, with non-substantive changes by council.
And then where in there,
This is actually an appropriate time to say so moved. What's that?
and then we'll take it as separate, the waiver and sewer,
That, we don't
That's
do
not
anything with
even-
sewer, yep, that's not us. That's something I have to get from
okay.
us to sewer.
so moved.
There you
Thank
go,
you.
see?
I have a motion, do I have a second? Okay, motion made and seconded, any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Declare the motion carried.
Wonderful.
Congratulations.
Thank you all.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
We look forward to working
Before
with you
you
guys
leave,
again.
how quickly would you like to come back after your public outreach meeting next week for Pleasant Street?
So you have 3 meetings. Since we're meeting on the 15th and that Thursday is a submission to submit things, we're probably not going to make that meeting. So I think it would be the first one in July.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just I wanted to make sure we were all on the same time.
Yeah, it gives us. We have a few ideas that we're already looking into, and we've listened to some of the neighbors, and we have some ideas. So we want to kind of portray someone to the neighbors, and then that gives us some adequate time to make some changes and try to demonstrate some of the I should say like design plans and things things you see and different elevations and things like that. Just a little bit more complicated and just a little bit more robust than the general concept for the people. So that's just a little bit fair. If we're going to do that, we might as well make it a little bit better, obviously, in everybody's eyes. So.
What was the
Appreciate
date
you
for
doing
that again?
July 5th.
No, it's
So,
next Tuesday?
Yeah, so it's Wednesday the 15th at
Wednesday.
5:30 p.m.
Okay.
in this room, and then the Zoom stuff is sent out to all of our neighbors.
Perfect.
We'll probably do something similar like we did the last time. Again, we'll take all the butters' concerns, questions, list them all out, and then make a formal response like we did like the last time. And I think the response that we did on the Pleasant Street on the last time was actually mailed again to the abutting residents. So if anybody the first time didn't have the question and answer or the results that we did submit to the board, it was mailed to everybody again. So everybody will have that as well. So.
Okay, great.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you,
see you in
guys.
July.
See you guys
Thank
soon.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up on the agenda is the one-day beer and wine license for Holden's Sunflower Shanty, and I see Kaylin is on Zoom.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. And then I see some people in person.
Yeah,
as well.
that's little Tallulah who's about to cry because she just ran her foot over with the chair.
Oh,
Just go inside. All right. So I could have brought her tonight, but I figured I'd stay at home.
all right. So you guys are here applying for another one-day beer and wine license, 30-day chunk. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. And the board saw the memo from Evan on Monday, correct?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. So how do you guys want to proceed? You guys are you aware of what the ABCC reached out to us?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we met last Wednesday morning.
Okay. So just for everybody listening at home, the ABCC reached out to Grafton to let us know the one-day beer and wine licenses that we have been issuing in 30-day batches is not necessarily the way we should be doing it. And now we're here to discuss what we want to do moving forward. So did you guys, you just want another 30 days, or did you have another solution or suggestion, or?
Can we get an annual? Because I originally wanted to get an annual. And when I spoke with Cindy, she said that we were going to just continue to do the one days.
Seasonal
Do
is the
30.
word.
Well, I mean, we did have a meeting middle of winter. Evan and I forgot who else was.
It was Bob Berger, Chris McGoldrick, maybe a couple other people, but I can't remember now either.
And everybody just sort of leaned towards the
Sticking
one day.
with the 1 day.
Yeah, because we were sort of curious too, and I mean.
I've
There
looked at
was-
some other towns and like down near the Cape, and they have a seasonal option, so I wanted to present that back in the wintertime, and we had been told just to stick with the 1 days.
Okay. So it's my understanding with an R40 zoning, you can't have an annual, correct? So that's off the table. As far as a seasonal license, I don't know if Grafton has that or what we would need to do to offer such a license.
The only seasonal license they're issued to golf courses.
Correct.
For 264 days.
Or what about switching zoning? I mean, we abut like the, what is it, the overlay project in, at Tufts?
Our plan is to go for the annual, however, we know that it's not an overnight process and that we'll have to go through a lawyer and rezoning, and it can take upwards of 90 plus days, which would kind of put us out of the time frame for our seasonal operation.
Yep.
So maybe you guys can come up with a plan, I don't know, to present a seasonal. I mean, one of you just said that it was only for golf courses, so maybe that's out of the picture, but we're hoping that we can find a way to just make it through this year. So then we've reached out to a lawyer, a land use lawyer, so that we can go through the rezoning process and hopefully go through the state.
So rezoning, you'd need to go to town, it has to go to town meeting.
Correct.
So that would be, if you got it all done in time, which is October sounds a long ways away, but really not a long ways away. You know, I mean, I looked at the law because I had originally said when this whole thing came up a year ago that you really should have a full license and get away from the 30-day stuff. But, you know, they only have those seasonal licenses for golf courses.
Okay.
And that's it. Now, can you petition the ABCC to change that? Yes, you can. But that's probably a longer process than going through a zoning change.
Right.
So, you know, it's really up to you guys. You know, we can't issue you another license. We can change the dates, you know, in June. If you want to drop some things in June and move them into July, we can still give you that 130-day that we gave you. But we can't do anything else. Our hands are tied. So it's really all on you guys right now. I hate to say that because it's a great place and everybody loves it, and you know.
But I guess my one thing would be like, I wish like it was told back in the middle of winter when we talked about it, and I wish like, I guess if you guys are like the licensing authority, one of you guys were there too to sort of put your opinion out there.
I don't think at that time the ABCC had, I don't think any of us understood the ABCC was gonna
But
say
we could have
that.
put it in the process of what we needed to do. If it was get an attorney,
I do believe at that meeting I did tell you to get an attorney.
I don't recall. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I gave you a name and where they work out of.
All right, yeah, no, and I mean, I know you had mentioned it the other day, so we had reached out to one, so.
So the crux of it is when we had talked about seasonal before the winter time. When we met with Mr. Berger and Chris McGoldrick, we had the avenue of doing one-day licenses, which the board seemed to be in favor of at the time and continue to be in favor of. The problem with zoning is that, you know, you're in the R40 district, so the town residents are highly unlikely to vote in favor of changing, allowing liquor license permits in the R40 zone, right? So the only thing you can do is rezone one parcel, which is generally speaking considered spot zoning. And so there was a whole bunch of other things that played into that conversation, which led us on the call to discuss that, you know, you have this one-day avenue, which we were all operating under that assumption at the time, which seemed far more likely than going through the zoning process to try to, you know, shoehorn a property that's not already grandfathered into your local zoning. So that's really the kind of the quick of the.
Did you have? Was that recorded, or?
No, I don't.
Well, no, I didn't know it being like a Zoom meeting. I
don't
didn't know if it was recorded or not.
No, only public meetings are recorded. I don't record anybody else.
Oh, already. I was just curious.
And is spot zoning even a possibility?
Spot
think-
zoning has been done many times, even though it's not encouraged.
Right.
So you guys have about 11 days left of your 30 days that have already have dates assigned. Did you consider what Ray was saying about trying to drop a couple in June and stretch them into July at all? Because if you wanted to do that, we can rejigger those dates for you guys tonight. That's something we can do.
I have a question. When I applied for the 30 days before, Cindy had mentioned that if I didn't use all of them, then she can carry them over. And there were 3 dates that we didn't end up being open due to rain. Is that still considered? So would it be like 14 since we didn't use the 3?
I am unfamiliar with that being allowed, so I would have to look into that. But it's
Okay.
That seems pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
I mean, the regulation says that we can grant 30 days to an entity, right? To the benefit of an entity. And, the thing that the AVCC objected to was changing the names on the requests.
Okay.
But the 30 days is the 30 days as far as I'm concerned. I mean, yeah, if you weren't able to get the benefit of those days because of weather or other, yeah, I'd be in favor of just carrying those forward.
And
Okay.
it was in this calendar year, was it? Not
Yeah.
carried over from last year, yeah. So it was 30 days within the calendar year, so I don't see that that's a problem.
Yeah.
But you aren't prepared to tell us which dates you'd like to extend to tonight. You'd need to come back in order to
We
figure
didn't,
those out.
I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't even know that that was gonna be presented, to tell you the truth.
Sure.
Well, it's a possibility, so if you guys wanna come back to us at our next meeting, which is next week.
Yeah,
you
let's
know,
do that
with
because I
some
want to look
dates
over
that
the
if you wanna
dates
change
and
it.
everything that we have scheduled.
Try to maximize,
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
choose, yeah.
We'll close this Saturday.
Well, I'm, yeah, no.
It's gonna rain.
It's gonna rain.
Okay.
On that note, we will be here next
See ya.
Tuesday.
See you next week.
All right.
All right, we'll put
Okay,
you back on the agenda
great.
for next
Thanks
week.
much.
Sorry about that. All right, next up on the agenda is the Grafton Upton Railroad Safety Benchmark Review. Ray asked to have this on the agenda, so I will tee it up to Ray.
Well, yeah, we discussed this, last year, and, then the town of Wakefield, received an approval, to stop the train horns sounding at the, at the crossings, especially in the north end, at, North Main, Route 30 and East Street. But reading this thing, it sounds like they didn't even have any arms that came down or anything like that, so that they had to get a 120, well, 1.225 million. Sorry, I don't know what is wrong with me tonight. I'm so nervous. So they got 1.25 million to put in all of the equipment and everything that we have right now. And I know that we talked about, making, well, we didn't talk about it, but the railroad talked about making East Street, to make it a quiet zone, they had to make East Street one way. They didn't have to do that. So, I'd really like to look into this, seeing a town in Massachusetts, got the train horns to stop. We really need to look into this, and I'm bringing it up because I they used, senators and, people who are big in politics other than us, to get that done. So I really wanted to pose this question as to what's our next step, or what do we need to do to get these horns to stop blowing during that. The other issue is a public safety in the North Grafton area where the arms come down and the trains are recoupling in the train yard, and those arms are down for I've seen it up to 20 minutes. So you've got East Street blocked and you've got Route 30 blocked, which is a public safety issue. So I know that they're putting in more spurs, so to try to get rid of that. But it's really getting to be a problem. But if we can start on the horns, that would make a whole bunch of people happy down there. So where do we go? Do we contact the town of Wakefield, or how do we go about this? I'm looking at you, so
I saw that. I mean, we can reach out to Wakefield if you want us to go down that road for sure.
Right. I mean, do we need to get Dave Moradian involved in this, or
So yeah, I mean,
our congressman or
I
whatever?
think they were involved in the last time Grafton went down this road. I obviously wasn't here at the time. I only know anecdotally, but we can certainly reach out to Wakefield, and then reach out to Senator Moore and Representative. I almost upgraded him.
Yeah.
Representative Meridian, and see what we can get rolling again if we want to restart that conversation and process.
And the last time we went through this, we didn't have none of the arms were there. Nothing. There was no. They just stood out there with flags and stopped the traffic, which was actually better for public safety. But you know, I think that if we can start on the noise, that would be a lot better. So, and I'd be more than happy to attend any meetings that you know, require, even if we have to go to Capital City. So, I love
As would
Boston.
Thanks, Ray, for looking into this.
So one of our goals was to establish or improve our relationship with Grafton Upton Railroad. I think it might be, it just strikes me that their one-way East Street proposal didn't come in a vacuum, right? So they must
No.
have done some engineering and planning.
Hmm.
I would advocate that one of our best first steps is to just get in touch with Grafton Upton, have them review the planning and engineering that they did in their discussions, and just have them come in and have a discussion with us to see if we can open some lines of communication with them before we start contacting senators and
Yeah, no, I mean, if we could get them to go along with us,
I think they
that
would want to do
it
this.
would be a lot better.
If the trains in there, you know, I'm sure that the railroad would love to not have to blow the horn 7 times going through intersections. So if there's a way, you know, I would definitely just reach out to them and see if we can get them into a meeting and review the reasoning behind the one-way East Street option, and if things have changed, which they may very well have at
Yeah.
this point, because they've put in a lot of safety infrastructure in that area. So
But we also don't know what the Wakefield intersection looks like either, so it's hard to just make comparisons without knowing that we're dealing with the same, you know, not all railroad intersections look the same. So, you know,
Right.
what's asked of Grafton might not be what was asked of Wakefield, so to set that
Yeah,
expectation
oh yeah,
as well.
no, but if we, I'm just, you know, I just look at this and I say, okay, you know, a town in Massachusetts got this done. So that means it's possible. And if we can get it done, and Matt, you said it's 7 times, the actual record is 42 times, and that was in a 22-minute period.
Right.
So,
I get it. I know.
yeah, but that's, I'm just saying, if they got it done, you know, let's see what we can do to get it done.
Okay, so first step would be to have Grafton Upton Railroad come in for a meeting. Does everybody agree with that? Would be our first step before we start reaching out to everybody?
Yeah,
Sure.
Alright, so we can try to do that. Does anybody else have any more input on this? Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
you do have a hand on Zoom. I don't know if you want to wait till public comment or take it on the discussion item, but just wanted to make you aware.
Did it just go up now?
Went up at the start of the discussion item.
Okay, then they probably want to talk about this. We can just pop them on.
Okay. Terry, you just need to unmute and you'll be allowed to talk.
Good evening, Madam Chair. It's actually Jeff Turgeon, not Terry. And I commend you, Ray, for finding that acknowledgement of another town to get the quiet, to get the horns off. And the consensus, since none of you were on that board were there at those meetings or live up here in North Grafton and dealing with this. The deal was not about not wanting to have the horns, because we all don't want the horns. The fact of the inconvenience that it was going to cause, the emergency situation that it was going to cost to the people that it was going to impact was significant, as well as Grafton Upton Railroad doesn't want to pay for it. He wants the taxpayers to pay for it. I want Grafton Upton Railroad to pay for it. They're in our town. They are in our residence. They are bothering us. They need to pay for all of the changes. If you can get them to do that, woo, win. We all win. The proposals that were presented by the Grafton Upton Railroad was putting all of it onto the backs of the Grafton taxpayer, not of Grafton Upton Railroad.
All right.
So think about that when you have those discussions with Grafton Upton Railroad. They're interesting company, but they like to stick it to the taxpayer versus them impacting us up here.
Jeff, I mentioned earlier, one of our goals as a select board is to improve the relationship with the Grafton Upton Railroad.
Good.
With that in mind, I'm not sure how helpful some of your commentary is. So we need to partner with them. We need to understand the situation. We need to get the facts and then proceed ahead with what's best for the town.
I understand that point, but I also understand the point that I'm the one getting woken up at 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm also the one that's sitting here with 1,000,000 gallons of propane ready to vaporize me at any moment in time.
All right, well,
They are in a residential space on a law that was created when Abraham Lincoln was president.
Yep, I understand that things aren't the way that you'd like them to be. And I think the indication from the select board is we're trying to do what we can to improve the situation.
Don't bend over.
well, thank you very much, Jeff.
Thank you.
All right, next, are we done with this? We're done with this.
Yep.
Moving on. Now we're doing the electric message board on Route 140, 122. Anne Marie asked to have that on the agenda. William, I sent you a couple of pictures if you wanted to throw up the current one, just so we're all familiar with what we're talking about here.
Yeah, so part of what I, ran on was trying to engage people and get information out there and transparency and whatnot. And this particular, I don't know if we're going to see it, but it's the tractor trailer with the yellow, lights that we've all seen that's out there, that I thought that we could potentially do better and have, more messaging potentially on a different type of board. Probably most of us have seen in other towns, some sort of a white structure potentially with, that could be controlled from up here. Doesn't have to be that you're, going and changing letters every day, but that we could have more information. I mean, even on the day of the election, I did notice that it didn't even say to, go elect. It's frequently saying about the
Brush dump.
the dump. Thank you. Yeah, that's pretty much what I see over there. So, something a little bit more pleasing, and maybe a little bit more effective. What I now understand is that this isn't our property necessarily to play with, but, and so maybe, Evan's going to speak to that a little bit, but just even thinking about signage where we can have more information, whether that be up here or ultimately maybe in different, even South Grafton, different parts of Grafton, but just to start with this particular middle of the town signage and what we can do.
Yeah, so we did, I have not been able to locate it yet. Apparently the town had looked into this at some point too, and it might be so long ago now that it's not even relevant. So, we were thinking that if the board was interested in looking into this proposal, that we would maybe start by the corner of Brigham Hill and Providence Road where the municipal sign is currently. Because we've
I
got,
think there's another picture of that if you want to. I might have done that because it was, hanging out.
so, there's, holy mackerel. That's in front of the police department though.
I know, but that was a good shot.
Oh, okay.
We'll enhance it.
Wow. Will did enhance it. Anyways, so it would be down where the gigantic arborvitaes are that are no longer there. That was kind of where we were thinking because we do have some infrastructure. And we would still have to bring power and data from, underneath the ground there. But it's probably a easier lift than some of the other thoughts that we were kind of trying to figure out where we could possibly do this. But that would, raise awareness, one, of where the municipal center is, because a lot of people still don't locate us very easily. And two, we'd be able to push out information, with whatever announcement you wanted to put out.
I like the idea. I think we should definitely have a sign out there, and if we can have it be like an LED sign versus, one with the school more.
I don't want to be doing that.
No, that would be better. So you can change the message as quickly as you want.
Well, that sign at down at 140 in Providence Road, that's remotely changed.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's just something that,
that could be changed. You could add all kinds of stuff to that thing.
Yeah. I think to Anne Marie's point, it's not visually appealing.
Oh,
And not
I would
always
have to
timely
agree.
information.
And you can kind of ignore it too. If you've seen it for so long, you don't even notice it's there anymore.
So in my opinion, it would have been an ideal location, right, to do just something different that was a little bit more inviting to Grafton and a little bit more visually appealing. That being said, so it's a great spot in terms of, you know, the traffic that goes through there. That's not our spot, unfortunately, to put something more permanent, so we could still have the trailer with the sign. But if that's not, you know, possible, then maybe something along these lines would be better. And then, to your point, maybe that makes more sense in terms of running wires that, you know, you would need. So, yeah.
Perfect.
I guess just looking at, you know, to see what the sense of the board is in terms of looking into this further.
I'm all in
Yeah.
favor of getting a sign out
Love to
there.
have a sign up.
Thumbs up for that.
Great.
So,
Great idea.
what do you need from us to do that?
CPC money.
Ooh.
Well,
Okay.
first we have to develop an RFP and then get some pricing on what that will cost.
Okay.
So then we can determine whether A, you wanna pursue it after you know what the cost is, and B, where are we gonna get the money from? So we can do that.
Good call.
Great, thank you.
All right, next on the agenda was the Affordable Housing Trust fee reduction. We're gonna actually pass over that tonight. And after that is discussion to sell 1 Grafton Common. So I know that got a lot of attention. I think we're gonna cue that up to,
I can't wait to
Yep.
hear this.
Put up the PowerPoint one?
Yep.
I'll put it up today.
Will the last agenda item be on the next agenda, you think, or?
so the reason we're passing over that, it's because GSX has some administrative stuff that they're trying to handle on their end, so it was in, you know, conjunction with the Affordable Housing Trust. Everybody was okay with putting it off. I'm not sure exactly when it will be back.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're just gonna pause on that process and then we'll bring it back to you. All right, 1 Grafton Common. So, I just want to frame the conversation because people were a little freaked out, and I understand why. So the purpose of this conversation is you have liabilities with 1 Grafton Common, both from a practical standpoint, an insurance standpoint, and a financial standpoint. So before we as your staff embark on any real direction forward, we want to see what the board wants us to be working on. Because either way is going to be pretty labor intensive, and so we want to make sure that we're using our time efficiently. Go to the next slide there. Thanks. So right now, 1 Grafton Common has 2 active leases. One is the master lease with 1 Grafton Common LLC. It's a 10-year lease, expires in 2027. In that lease, and there's other stuff in there, but by and large, in that lease, the town is responsible for the roof, the foundation, exterior walls, and HVAC. It's a little bit hinky the way it's written, but basically, we have to pay for replacement of items, and they have to pay for maintenance. And I actually think that they may have paid for a considerable HVAC refit to get around some of the maintenance. But that's like my first month here, and I'm trying to remember the walkthrough. But so the second lease you have on the property or agreement is with Apple Tree Arts. So that is a 30-year term that expires May 10th, 2041. In that agreement, the tenant is responsible for certain improvement benchmarks where they have to raise certain dollar amounts and reinvest them into the building. And there's similar language in that regarding the town's obligations, which is generally the building envelope. So currently, we've been reviewing the exterior renovation that's needed to the building, which includes repointing of brickwork, the fascia that you see in the top of the building there where the dental molding type of structure is. We need some gutter work, and there's a number of windows that need to be restored and or replaced. Did I go like this?
You didn't do that the last time either.
So the general thought from all of us is that you're probably looking at $1 million, knowing what we know from doing other repointing work, what other window quotes we've seen, and the the trim that we feel needs to be repainted and probably replaced in some sections. There you go. Okay, good. Okay, so you basically, in my opinion, you have two major, divergent options. One is to fund the restoration, and so where would you fund a project like this? Well, you do have your ARPA funds, which are available for historic renovation and restoration. CPC has put in about $2.1 million into the property already. And I have a breakdown of what that looks like on the following slide. You could also pay for it out of the general fund or with capital fund dollars. Or you could divest of the property. And so to divest of the property, you're basically looking at two different paths, right? One would be a RFP for general sale. And one would be an RFP with protected use, i.e., you could write an RFP that says that the building has to go to a nonprofit that caters to the arts, and that Apple Tree Arts would have a home in there for the duration of their other agreement, yada yada. You can carve that out. I don't know how realistic that would be to get someone to take that, but I think that there are organizations that are not for profit that would cater to that type of arrangement. So this is just a basic overview. Most of the records I found, they started at 2003. There's seemingly 2 to 3 different vault restoration projects. Most of them, I think, are the same project or similar to it, in which there wasn't enough money in the original ask. You also did a roof repair work in 2008, 2 different projects. The big money came with accessibility improvements in 2010, as well as accessibility improvements and exterior renovations in 2014, which total about 1.5 plus 2010. You're at like 1.9 million dollars. So that's where the bulk of your project comes in. Everything else, is that it? Nope. Let me go into my update. So I think that the board needs to give some time and some thought to which direction you want to send your staff in. Do you want your staff to pursue additional funding to restore the envelope of the building and then retain ownership of the property? Or do you want to see if there's interest in divesting of the property in one of the manners that I outlined there?
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'd like to see, based on the rental income, I would like to see the valuation of the building. Okay, because the rental income is nothing. So when we look at it and we say, well, we're gonna sell it, no one's ever gonna buy it to have it pay for itself, because it's never going to pay for itself. So I would like to see a valuation put on the building based on the rental income, so that we know that, hey, based on that, it's worth $500,000. Before we start putting millions and millions of dollars into this building, because if we say that the outside's going to be $1 million and then an HVAC equipment breaks down or whatever, something else breaks down, the roof alone would be probably $300,000. I look at this as a bad deal. I expressed my opinion when this thing first came up. It was a bad deal. But it's a bad deal that we have, and we have to try to either deal with it or get out of it. So that's my opinion.
Anybody else? I guess that's what we're talking about, right? Dealing with it or getting out of it. So I don't see how, as a business person myself, how anyone would purchase this. Like you said, there's a long-term lease with 20 years left with Apple Tree.
Yes, there are clauses that the town
Sure, And then there's additionally a bond, right, through community preservation, is it not?
Yep.
It's on that property, so.
Yep.
Well, I agree with Ray. It doesn't seem like it's a smart deal for the town. We have a lot of municipal buildings that will need maintenance and reservation and money. In this one, we've already put over $2 million in, and it looks like we have a couple, if not more than another million to put into it. And does that actually make sense to put taxpayers' dollars into this building? I don't know. I don't know if it makes sense. And then if I could have a projection of, it's $1 million so that we know now, but what's coming down? Because clearly we've already put in over 2 million and it wasn't enough. How much? I don't know. I think of the schools and the roofs and the things that they need and other municipal buildings. This one needs work too. I don't know if it makes sense to hold on to it right now. But I don't know if it's easy to unload like it's being presented. It might not be.
Right.
So.
Well, you could probably get rid of it, but we're gonna give it away.
Yeah.
And we're still gonna have a mortgage on it. What I say is a mortgage on it, which is paying back, another 12 years of CPC money that we put into this thing. So it is a saleable building, but it's gonna be for nothing.
And that's why you're interested in the valuation.
That's why I wanna know what the valuation is based on the rental income.
Yeah.
So,
My main issue is we had a public-private partnership with Apple Tree to invest CPC money for the benefit of the town, in combination with their own fundraising that they did. And I don't think that I would support an option which didn't preserve Apple Tree's current situation there. It's sort of my main thing. I'm not bothered necessarily by Grafton not being the tenant, but I would be very bothered if the arrangement with Apple Tree changed at all. I think it is going to be very difficult as a proposition to somebody to purchase it because of it's an odd mixture of tenants and agreements and history. I also can we put $2 million into a building and then just sell it? That seems weird that you could put CPC money in to a historic building and then just sell it. Doesn't that strike it? It just seems really unusual that.
I think it's really unusual that you own a building with a bar in it.
I do too.
yeah.
I think it's really, that's
Yeah.
not
do.
something that any other town administrator I've ever met has in there.
Right.
Well,
Under their, in their contract for.
Yeah, I'm not sure that a bar was necessarily envisioned when this thing started. That evolved and it's happened and here we are, but.
Apple Tree Arts they could buy it, right?
No,
I don't think so.
nope.
I would say to Matt's point that when we as townspeople did the straw poll for this building and then additionally voted to put CPC funds over the last 5 to 10 years, for me personally, when I voted for that, this is the cornerstone, in my opinion, of the common. And so what the true valuation of that is, I tried to look it up and get a valuation and there's nothing out there, but probably you guys have other means to do so. We have control with what goes on there currently, so it would be a short-term gain with whatever we would get for it, which might only be $1, by the way. And to give up control over that building that, like I said, in my opinion, really is a gem. And I understand that it's a liability right now, and we've suddenly in this conversation gone from 1 million to 2 million. What I'm saying is $1 million. And I understand there might be things coming down the pike, so to speak, but that could be said for anything that, we have. Additionally, there's a 20-year lease, correct, or, deal with Apple Tree. You also have something with the person who's currently managing it, and I would say that the person who's currently managing it is doing a good job, particularly as compared to how we were doing it as a town, and what they're putting back into it. So I don't know that we'll get a better deal in that respect. I understand it's a big nut, but to me, it really is a building with a lot of non-monetary value, perhaps, and maybe people at home don't want to hear that, but that's my opinion. And I agree that we have a somewhat of a commitment to folks like Apple Tree who did some work in raising funds and whatnot, and I'll leave it at that.
So the 2 million came from the fact that we've already put 2 million into it.
Oh,
That's
okay.
that's where the 2 million came from. But I mean, would you feel comfortable going to taxpayers to say, hey, we need to do a debt exclusion for $1 million?
I think currently we have ARPA money. We could look at CPC again. We could look at other creative ways potentially.
So,
I mean, the ARPA committee, I'm on it. We haven't talked about this project. It's on the list. We have a 2-page list, obviously.
yep.
But this hasn't been discussed yet.
Right, but ARPA won't be there for the next, because clearly it seems like this is a building that needs a lot of upkeep because we've been putting a lot of
But
money.
we're talking right now about this
Yep.
1 million, right?
But I think you need to have a vision too. You can't just always live in the right now. You have to make sure that the decisions you make now, you can live with. And it seems like the decisions we made 12 years ago, we're not comfortable living with now, or at least some of us aren't.
Right.
So. Anybody else have anything to say?
No, I guess I just want to reiterate, I'm not bothered by selling the building, even if it's for $1, but we need to honor our commitment with Apple Tree. I wouldn't be bothered at all. And
Well, we
I
can't
think
get out of that anyway.
in terms of the, you know, the historic aspects of the building, it's beautiful. I think if we were to, you know, sell it, it wouldn't be in anybody's interest to let the building fall apart. So, you know, the building is the building. It's beautiful. I don't think we actually have a lot of control at the moment over what happens in the building. Really, that's the lease manager and the tenants do that. You know, so aside from our agreement with Apple Tree, which is, you know, they're a nonprofit, they do their own thing. We don't do a lot of management. That's really Mr. Padgett's purview to do that. So. I don't know, I guess I just wanted to be clear that for myself, I'm not bothered by a low cost getting rid of the building and pursuing that option, but I'd be adamantly opposed to breaking our agreement with Apple Tree. So that's kind of my main thing. The idea of keeping it,
50% of the building, do you? Is it 50%?
it's the top floor, yeah, it's significant. Yeah, it's a lot. So I think it would be difficult to sell. I think we're just in a bit of a pickle. I don't know if I'd want to use opera money for it either.
Yeah.
We've got so many competing needs to your point, Colleen. I don't know.
So, have we given you any direction?
No.
Right. So we
Yeah, you
need
did.
we
Much
need to
worse
give
than it
them-
was this morning.
Yeah.
Get evaluation?
No, so I can follow up on valuation like Ray said.
Can I ask what we're talking, like, for timing of some of these things? You know, I feel like the evaluation could come fairly quickly, but if we start going the RFP route, how long is that gonna take to put together versus, you know, like, if we make a commitment to one, are we closing the door on the other? Absolutely. You know, because we'll miss out on ARPA funding or, you know.
Yeah, I would think, I don't know if Emery has a sense of it. I would think that by the end of the summer, we've pretty much figured out where the ARPA money's gonna go for the most part.
Hopefully, yeah.
I think that's the intent. We just finished our survey, so I think we have some direction to go there. I mean, none of it. So I've been talking to Sean about this for like a year of what direction do we go, and how do you pay for any of this? So it's not like I called him last week, so he's fully aware of that this conversation. Maybe not every nuance of it, but the general conversation about what does the town want to do. So it's nice to have a board of 5 members that all want to do something a little different. That makes it real easy to be the town administrator. No, so I think we start with Ray's valuation point. I mean, none of it is catastrophic to wait, months. We're probably looking at, if we were looking at funding through a source that needed a town meeting vote, you'd be looking to do that in the fall, and then start the project probably in the spring. That's our current timeline. So we have some flexibility there. So I can work on valuation over the next couple weeks and then bring that back to you guys and just give it some thought. And in the meantime, think about a little bit kind of the direction you want to head. Because if we are going to go after funding for either ARPA or some other means for the fall, that will take us probably a month to 2 months to put together a idea of what that's going to cost to go out to bid.
The other nice part about the ARPA funds is that the committee just makes a recommendation. Ultimately, it comes back here and we can tweak that recommendation if we all
Right.
decide to change our mind.
Yep.
And
Yeah. Yep.
does the board have anything else they want to add at this time? All right, we do have someone in the audience that would like to speak.
Okay, I will speak and then I think Bruce wants to. Hi, my name is Dana Wilson. I live at 16 Cedar Farm Lane. I moved here about 20 years ago. And I worked at Apple Tree Arts for 13 years in a part-time job that was more like a full-time job because I really loved the work and I wanted to help the community. What I'd like you to do is, I think you just need to change your mindsets about this, but I think there's a good solution as far as the funding. You have to look at this building. It's not a normal building. It's an iconic building. It was built in 1860. We're not really sure, as far as I know, it's not 100% who really designed it, but we think the same architect that designed the Upton Town Hall and mechanics designed this building. What happened is, right now it's a community center. There's a dance studio that's on one floor. There's a doggy, there's a dog establishment with, retail, but that attracts a lot of people. And so does the tavern. I mean, maybe I don't know if that's what this is about. I don't know if that's an issue or not. But anyway, I mean, the tavern does attract a lot of people. And I was one of the people that wasn't really 100% for it, but I was amazed. I came there one day, I don't know, I was driving through at 11 o'clock. I was probably doing some volunteer work. And all these people were walking around. I'm like, where are they going? They were going to the tavern. And I've heard a lot of people say they go there and play darts and they have a good time. So, but what I wanted to say is it's really an iconic building. If you let this into the hands of a business person or a commercial entity, it probably won't be the way it is. And I know there's a lot of people in Grafton that love this building. There's people that went to graduation there. And there used to be the library, it used to be the post office. There's all that, so it really is important. And it was going to, in the year 2007, when the town decided to do the partnership with Apple Tree Arts, the roof was at its end of its life. It had been fixed. So then that was one of the first things that Apple Tree Arts and the town took upon them. And I saw that you put the monies that were used, it was like $63,000. That was money that Apple Tree Arts received as a grant from I think it was Mass Historic Preservation Group.
That was CPC money.
Not the $63,000.
There was $100,000 that came from elsewhere. That was a combination of other grants.
On that, I don't know. I'm going to talk to Donna Blanchard about that. Okay. And Paul Scarlett. But what I wanted to say, really what I'm trying to say is it's an iconic building. If it falls apart or if it becomes all commercialized, it's not used as a community center. That's not a good thing for Grafton. Right now, people love the Common. I mean, it's beautiful. You put a lot of money into refixing the Common. We just brought the library up to code. And what happened with the building, the One Grafton Common was brought up to code with the monies that Apple Tree Arts did raise over, I think it was 1.3 million, but they were involved in making sure that the CPC funds happen. They got the support of the community, all of that. And it's just, to me, it would be like one of the worst decisions you could ever make. But what I'm going to suggest is, what happened is when Apple Tree Arts went out to get money, they got donations from the Mass Historic Commission, from the Massachusetts Cultural Council. They gave them one of the biggest grants ever given. It was $250,000. I mean, during that particular grant round, and I think that was like 2011. And what happened is, it was kind of unusual to have it not be in Worcester. And that was one grant, and there were many other grants. Most of the ones that you all know, that Stoddard foundation. There's another grant, foundation that didn't really want a lot of publicity because they didn't want people to be contacting them about it. There's many different foundations that gave money. A lot of local people gave money that live around the common that don't live in the common. If you go into Apple Tree Arts and you go and see the Great Hall, which is what it's called, in the back of the hall is a beautiful tree. It's an apple tree, and you'll see everybody's names on it and the organizations. It has a lot of support from the community. A lot of money was put into it, a lot of effort. I think to change that would be detrimental to the town. My other thought is the people that did give money, and there were a lot. We can give you a list. There's some people from Grafton, from Apple Tree Arts, the staff members. We can give you a list. But what I'm saying is there's no reason why the town couldn't go after trying to get that grant money. There's grant money.
That's
really,
what the conversation is about tonight. Is
Okay.
do we want to chase down grants and continue to fund this, or is it not financially make sense anymore? That's all it is. It's very high level. Nobody's making a decision one way or the other.
I know, but you've talked about it like it's just a regular old building. It honestly isn't. It's an iconic building. It sits on the cornerstone
And
of
we're
the
not
Grafton.
trying to minimize that it means a lot to a lot of people. That I think Evan had said that earlier. So
Okay, I agree, but I don't think you know how iconic it is and why you would want to. I don't think you'd want to really put a building like that at jeopardy after we spent all this money and time on it. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
And the thing I know that's happening a lot is that people aren't. It's historical buildings sometimes are let go. I mean, look at the beautiful bridge that people didn't want to renovate up in North Grafton. It looks beautiful. Look what we did down in what you did in the park in South Grafton. That looks nice. You brought a historic building there. I don't think it's been painted or anything, but I mean, this is a really important building, and I just it's an important building. It's an important place, and it's doing a lot for the community. I know that Apple Tree Arts is working with the public library, for example. They have ukulele meeting sessions monthly that are free, that are going to be happening, I believe, at the library. And that's been happening for many, many years, and that's a free thing. Anybody can go.
okay.
But I just wanted you to know, and I wanted to ask you: are you going to reach out to the public and ask them what they feel like, what they think about too?
At this time, the board hasn't even made a decision
Okay.
of what direction we're going.
Okay.
To. So thank you very much for your comments. And
Okay.
we're it's not.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have one more thought. Would all of this be online so it can be apparent? We can read it. So the meetings.
So
will,
this whole meeting has been recorded, and
Okay,
that will
good.
be available on YouTube for anybody
that
to
sounds
watch
great.
anytime.
Thank you
Okay.
very much. Thank you for listening to me. I do appreciate it.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
You know, I think people are maybe jumping to conclusions here that we're selling this building, we're giving it away, or we're going to do something like that.
But that's
In any business situation, and this is a business situation, you have to do your due diligence. You have to find out how much it's worth. You have to find out how much the rent is. And then you have to make a decision as to what you're going to do to either save the building. I'm not save it because that's not the issue. Fix the building and keep putting money into it, or sell it. And that's what we're talking about here tonight. We're not making any decisions here tonight. We're not doing anything like that. We have to do our due diligence. It's a piece of real estate, and cities and towns should not be in the real estate business because it never works. It only costs money. So now we have to make a decision based on due diligence whether we're going to spend more money or we're going to do something else. And that's all this is. That's all we're talking about tonight.
And if we're gonna, for me personally, it'd be helpful, and I know this is gonna take more staff time, but we have a lot of other buildings that also have roofs and needs and things like that. And how do we say that this building should get the ARPA money, but a school with children in it doesn't? You know what I mean? I just feel like for me, there's a lot of buildings that all have the same needs. How are we supposed to decide that this one gets it over? I guess I keep saying school because I think of kids. I don't know.
Well, I think there's also different funding sources that separate this a little bit from some of those other opportunities. I think that the general question is, and I think Ms. Wilson did an eloquent job of putting this together. There is a lot of good things that comes with that building. It's whether or not is that the public's responsibility to fund that activity or not?
Right.
I mean, that's your core question. And then what is the viability of it? So ultimately, if you say, tomorrow, go figure out how to fund the restoration of the building, that's what we're going to do. We don't have any political motive outside of that.
Right.
But we need direction on what you guys want us to be working on.
So valuation is something Ray needs. Is there anything else anybody else needs so that the next time this comes back, the conversation can keep moving forward and not just having a merry-go-round conversation?
I'd like some of the items that you listed, some, if not projections for upcoming maintenance for One Grafton Common, a preliminary list. It doesn't have to be extensive of some of the other upcoming projects that we're going to be on the hook for municipally.
Yep.
I guess I would echo some of the stuff that everybody's already said. I don't think anybody here would want to put Apple Tree Arts in jeopardy of anything. I don't, just to say that right off the bat. At the same time, I think there, it might be a little bit of panic in there that things are going to drastically change, and at this point, we can't say that either. Maybe I'm just being naive, but if it goes out to RFP, there's a possibility that we just get a new leaseholder, and that very little actually changes. Who knows? Who knows what we get for bids? So that's where I'm at right now. I like you said, I would like a little bit more information on the valuation and some of the upcoming municipal projects that we have.
Okay. Emery, is there any information that you would like to know? Matt, any information?
Crystal clear.
Okay. All right. So we'll bring that back in July sometime. Would that be good to give you enough time to? Perfect.
Do you want to take Bruce's comment?
I can wait for public comment if you want.
Do you have a comment about this?
I do.
Under 2 minutes.
I'll try.
Thank you.
Might have to sit down and come back up and reset, but
Yes, please.
Yes,
so
I'll do it. I'll make it loud.
71 Potter Hill Road. I just, from a structural perspective on how this is set up, staying on the top of things, can you walk us through, especially the public, what goes on when you RFP a building in a town setting such as this? So the timelines that are attached to it, and does it go to town meeting? What does it go to town meeting for? What does CPC have to say about this, and boards and committees that have been essential to the cultivation of that particular building? When you put it on this agenda, obviously you kind of touched a sensitive area for a lot of people in town, because we already had this discussion 10 years ago. This discussion you're having right now has already taken place. We knew about the repointing, we knew about the windows, we knew about everything that was going to be required for that building. We had this same argument. The problem I have with the argument that as you're presenting it now is it's hitting the agenda, and you're sending a message that, clearly what happened 10 years ago in town doesn't necessarily hold true now. But you entered into a public partnership with a private entity, and part of that goal was to kind of leverage those private dollars that the municipality didn't have access to. And at town meeting at the time, and in discussions here amongst the select board when we were going through this process, even after the lease with Apple Tree Arts was signed, is, we were conveying a message that, we're interested in that building. It's, a town icon, and it's something that the commercial market never took care of before, because we've already tried that too. So the building went out to commercial. They don't do projects like this. They're not going to buy a building for $2 million and then spend another $1 million on it. They're going to get best use out of it, and then they're going to let it go to whatever it does. I've read through the leases, so there's a lot of latitude in there. I would, do I need to go sit down and come back up?
I don't know.
How we doing? All right. I would prefer that you spelt this out a little bit more so people understand what you're doing and the process that goes through with it. Okay? Because I think it sends a bad message, some of the stuff I heard here tonight, because we've covered all these things like I mentioned before, and there's a lot of people in the community that are still actively participating in fundraising and making that, realizing the goals that everybody had in town 10 years ago with that building. So to get it up here and to, just talk about it flatly touches a nerve. So having went through that whole process yet. All right.
Thank you.
You have a barn you want to talk about while you're here?
Oh, yeah.
Nope, not on the agenda. Sit it down. All right. No, but yes, it is a very sensitive subject, and it was not, you know, not to minimize how everybody feels and the history of it and things that happened 10 plus years ago. You know, those things happen. But it's just a conversation that needs to happen when we have to put more money into it. So we kind of have to rehash some of that again. That's all. All right. Good?
Yep.
All right. Vote to disband the fire chief search committee. So I can just take a motion on that.
Sure. I move the board vote to disband the fire chief search committee effective June 7, 2022.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Declare the motion carried. Can we send a letter of thanks to all of those involved?
We got it going.
You can skip me. Union voluntary recognition for the library, and Evan will.
Yep.
tell
So we've
us
been
about that.
going back and forth with this. So that's why there's nothing in your packet. So the employees at the library have elected to form a union, and part of that process, you really have a couple different ways you can go. You can do what's called voluntary recognition, which is we recognize that they've elected to form a union. That then sets their initial bargaining unit, or units in this case, and then we move into pass the DLR process, Department of Labor Relations, and move into the initial negotiations with the library staff and us. The other way to do that is to not voluntarily recognize, and then it's just a DLR process that goes back and forth, which with Labor Council and I both feel will end up in the exact same place. So we would like to ask the board to to recognize, I'm not going to bother with that word, to recognize that that more than 50% of the bargaining employees in the unit have authorized and designated the MLSA, which is it's supervisors and professional, non-professional library employees in a unit, to be their exclusive representative, and that they will form two bargaining units, one of 4 employees being supervisors and one of 14 employees being non-supervisory staff. And we would just like you to vote to recognize that unit so that we can then enter into negotiations.
Sounds good. Any questions?
Can you expound just a little bit on your discussions with council?
Only in certain parts. 'Cause,
Okay, yeah, whatever you can.
pretty much what I can tell you is that
He talked to council.
we talked on the phone. No. So our labor council is Mark Terry. So Mark Terry has been in contact with Heidi Morris is her name, who's the representative, and have been going back and forth about who's in the unit, who's not in the unit. Most of that can be shaken out after as well. That's probably all I would want to say in open session as far as things not related to collective bargaining.
Okay.
You and I'm not making light of this. You don't have a lot of latitude.
I get it.
Because they have voted and elected to join in this union process. So at this point, we either recognize on our own or have DLR do it for us, but the outcome is going to be the same, just 2 months from now instead of letting us get to it.
Okay.
And the motion you would need from us is?
To recognize the Grafton Public Library supervisors and professional and non-professional library employees union.
So moved.
Second.
How do you like that, Andy?
Motion.
You couldn't give me that one?
Nope.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Declare the motion carried. All right, great. Select board reports. Does anybody have any reports?
I can give one.
Great, go for it.
Went to the Grafton Pride Festival on Saturday. It was incredible. Very well organized. A lot of vendors. spent some time volunteering. It was great. Good turnout. A lot of foot traffic. Grafton Pride Inc. has also received their nonprofit status from the state and are currently working through federal.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, anybody else? TA reports.
Sure.
Did you do that?
Next slide, buddy. So we are going to be asking for you to what?
I think it's the 29th.
What is Okay, so one of these days towards the end of June, apparently it's the 29th and not the 27th. We're going to be asking for a joint meeting between Select Board and FinCom to finalize our end of year transfers. So this is the process that we did, got to be a month and a half ago now, to do our first round, and then this is just the kind of cleanup as you get right close to July 1, so that we can finalize our budget. I anticipate that would be a pretty short meeting, because I don't see anything controversial on that transfer list. It's all pretty straightforward stuff, mostly due to energy costs.
In person or in Zoom?
I don't think we've gotten that far yet.
Cool.
So, working with the department heads to curb spending, we talked about this a little bit. We definitely have seen a spike in our energy costs. Some of that was because the town of Grafton didn't have a energy contract with an electricity provider like the schools do. We do now. I was able to put all of that in place with Mary, and just the general, just not lack of foresight, but lack of thought into what was going to happen, with the current world we live in. So we're seeing a lot of energy costs rise there. We have new buildings that nobody really anticipated what the energy costs would be, and then we have, of course, fuel costs that have gone up substantially. So we're tightening our belts on everything else we're doing to make sure that we have enough money to get to the end of the fiscal year and get through that. So Grafton will be the recipients of a shared streets grant, $50,000. That will be used to purchase the Ventrac machine that we had in our capital plan.
So Evan, just before we move on, what potential impact is that going to have on, so you're kind of tightening the belt to get through now.
Yep.
Having the energy costs spike over the past few months. Is there going to be an impact also in kind of the next fiscal year?
Oh yeah.
I mean, what are we looking at?
So we're not entirely sure. We're thinking that we're going to work in the background to move, or potentially get ready to move some of that money come fall, to just shift into accounts. We did increase most of the accounts that we saw running into deficit.
Okay.
So we're in baseline good shape there.
All right.
So now we've fixed the energy budgets to what they should have been fiscal 22 without energy price increases. Now we just have to figure out what we think that delta is going to be over time. We're also doing some work with it's called the Schedule Z, which is for our net metering agreements with different solar providers and different discount rates to shift some of those into areas that might be more beneficial. We also went, upon getting here, Mary and I discovered that you had about $250,000 in credits unallocated from National Grid. They will not pay us that money. We've been working on that for a year. So we've been allocating those credits across the board to try to more effectively use them. So we're trying to figure that out as we go. Grafton has quite the web of net metering agreements. It's been a heck of a job to untangle it. And we actually found two that we didn't know at the beginning of the year that don't show up in our system. So, we've really been struggling to get a handle on the net metering and get energy to where we want it to be. So that'll be part of our summer focus, between Mary and I.
Along with the projections.
We're real close on the projections. We're really getting there. Good on that, or you want me to do more on?
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Good.
So, shared streets grant. So we paid for a Ventrac on our capital plan. town allocated $65,000. We're gonna get 50,000 of that in a grant, so we'll be able to turn that 50,000 ish back into the capital plan to use in future projects. We were listed in the guide to Boston's hottest suburbs. I know there's a lot of talk about that we're really a Worcester suburb, but it's still nice to show up in a article like that. This is a little less timely now than it was. So there was a kind of a hot topic around the library roof and the leakage caused by what was presumably the green roof. I think that was a premature conversation to put into the public sphere because we only knew that there was a leak and that everybody was going to blame everybody else, which is what they do every single time. So in the meantime, we are working with the contractor. We're going to be removing the green roof and doing a leak test where we fill up that section of the roof for 24 hours and try to establish where the leak is coming from. There's no damage in any of the locations where the, at least not visible, where the green roof meets the rubberized roof. And there's no apparent leak near any of the like scupper drains. So we're gonna have to, they're gonna have to do a 24-hour test and post somebody in there and try to find the leak. So they're gonna be working through that. The only thing that we did find out is that the green roof company should have put a barrier between the roof, which is actually good in our case because it maintains the warranty of the product going forward. So, you know, it was kind of blowing up there for a little bit. I don't see it as anything catastrophic. Having built buildings, you know, small things happen and we're just going to track it down. I don't think it's, you know, you're not going to go in the library and the whole roof's going to collapse. It's not that kind of leak. It's just showing up in a couple of little spots. So we'll figure it out. All right, ARPA meeting. So we're going to meet again next Monday to start going through we're going to get the initial survey report from the consultant. We had over 700 respondents, which is a huge number for a town the size of Grafton. I mean, huge, probably double what they anticipated we would see. So that's great. It's going to give us a lot of feedback from the public as to the direction that they think that we should go with that money. So I'm really looking forward to that meeting Monday night to get a little bit more data out of that. I think that's going to be really cool. Yeah. Well, that's all I got.
Yep.
Great.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Anybody have anything they want to talk about in correspondence?
Yeah. Did we or will we be responding to some of the middle schoolers who submitted questions and feedback for our meeting?
I personally have not responded to.
So one thing that we did find out is that the middle schoolers email us, but it doesn't appear that they can receive email.
Right.
So we just found that out this week. So I was gonna reach out to Jay and ask what his thoughts were on how do we do this? Is that part of the project? Would they prefer that we don't? Do they want us to write a letter? I don't know. So I will follow up with Jay before the end of this week, and then we can figure out if you want to respond.
Thank all of them in one of our
nice
meetings. Yep, and I listed everybody's names, and so we can keep acknowledging them, get them excited, and run into something.
Yeah,
You know,
I
we
would.
had questions. So
Yeah, I would like
we
to
could
see
easily
us
answer.
at least like probably draft an official letter
Response.
from the select board on select board letterhead that we send to them at the very least. But I'll reach out to Jay and.
Could you have that ready for next week? Because the end of the year is coming super
Sure.
fast for them.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I also just, wanted to commend the students. I love the civic engagement, and that's one of the things I want to work on as well. So I just wanted to reiterate that I commend them for, the
Yeah.
project, first of all, and that they've followed through with it. Yeah, that's
I like that they asked much more detailed and tough questions than the average adult that comes around.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, they were really well thought out and
Yeah.
really, they really pinpointed public issues that probably need to be addressed. That, it was. I think that's
Yeah.
very cool. I always love
Great,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, great job.
Any other correspondence? All right. Moving on to resignations.
Right into motions?
Yep.
All right. I move the board vote to accept and acknowledge the resignation of Matt Offen as a member of the Community Improvement Planning Committee, effective immediately.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. Declare the motion carried.
Okay. I move the board vote to accept and acknowledge the resignation of Maureen Turcott as an election worker, effective immediately.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. Declare the motion carried.
I move the board vote to accept and acknowledge the resignation of Joanne Pasella as an election worker, effective immediately.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Declare the motion carried.
I move the board vote to acknowledge the resignation of Marianne DeRogers as a member of the Zoning Board of Appeals, effective immediately.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Declare the motion carried. All right. And
Before you move on, just want to acknowledge Cindy actually already emailed Jay and Neil, the school department, about the email, so that you'll be prepared to be able to respond.
awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Cindy.
Thank you, Cindy. Yeah.
Watching on her time off. So does anybody have public comment? Anybody on Zoom? Anybody in here? 2 minutes for everybody.
Per subject? Or
We'll let Roger go first. How about that?
he can keep the 2 minutes, I can.
Roger Trahan, 4 Old Upton Road. By the way, congrats, Colleen, in your new role, and Andy and Anne Marie in your election. Just a quick, timely comment regarding, I guess we're having a July 4th concert, right? Is that on the Common this year? Are we back with July 4th concert? All right.
It's usually the third, and
All
I
right.
haven't heard through Lions Club that I haven't seen anything.
The reason I mention this, and it's part of a larger discussion, is that between that concert and everything else that goes on the Common, there's actually an underutilized, or actually a non-utilized space that is the side lot line of the JCSI and Best Exec building at 2 South Street. And probably half of that piece of land between the building and the curb, probably about 1/5 of an acre, I estimate about 75 by probably about 100, is actually part of the town common. No one knows it. They think it's part of JCSI, and they've been respecting land that actually belongs to the town. A few dozen chairs could go there for a July 4th concert. People could use that rightfully as part of the common, which it is, when the common is being used for private events that are for pay or during the farmers market. I would like to see just this acknowledged and publicized as part of the common, but also respecting their lot line, because it's kind of like half of that piece of land needs to be respected, so that if you advertise it, that half is part of the common, that the public isn't encroaching on the private piece. So that's all.
Will you be sitting there and doing that for us on the 3rd?
Yes, I will.
Thank you.
I'll be there. So, yeah, with my yellow tape but anyway, no big plans, but at some point, maybe something permanent as far as fencing could be put up there.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
All right, Bruce, that's how it's done. Okay?
That was solid. I'll stand up, so I can't go out in the 2 minutes then. Okay, so had a brief meeting the other day. I know we passed over some of the trust stuff and the grant stuff and the Upton Street GSX project. I believe there's going to be a brief respite in there, and in that respite, of a couple weeks or a month or so, I wanted to find out the situation with the barn. So the white barn that's up on the common across the street from Cumbies was the additional parcel that was lumped into the other parcel that was sent out to RFP. During the discussions at town meeting that I can recall, in the discussions here, as this whole thing was coming to fruition, I never really identified a strong selling point for keeping that barn. I saw some of the marketing selling points that were there, but this is, pretty much purely going to be a residential development. So I wanted to at least come here in a public setting and ask anybody that's out there, and including this board, what their disposition is towards that barn. And I don't have more than 2 minutes. I could go on for like 20 minutes on what I think we should do with it, but I want some time to cover it later when we come back and we take a look at this. Because once it's developed and once it kind of leaves this nest, so to speak, we're not going to get another bite at it. And I think it has substantive impacts on the size of and the design of the building that's going to go in place there. So, in planning board rules and regs, 20% of your reserved parking capacity doesn't have to be right outside of a building. So there's a lot of room to increase a parking count in the density that the town is allowing there. And the barn, I don't know if anybody's been in it. Ray, I'm sure you've had it at some point. It's not something that you're going to gut and restore the inside and do something with. It's probably going to be a complete overhaul. And so I'm looking at it, and in the past I didn't really pay much attention to it, but now that there's a brief break and we've seen some of the wetlands delineations that are there, some of the conceptual designs that are going on the actual Upton Street project, I think it would be to our benefit to look at it a little bit deeper and see if it's something that we want to say, okay, well, there's a higher and best use for that little piece, and it might not be a kind of a dingy old barn, which used to store roadkill and leftover hoarding junk from the town for years and years and years. So, I like the spooky guy up in the window and all like that, but we don't need to look at that for the next 20 years. And parking is always an issue there. So reserved parking can be extended to the benefit of the municipality as well. So there's plenty we can do there. I'd just like to bring you some of those things and then maybe get some feedback onto what your guys' position is on it. Maybe find out why we want to keep it. So there may be a legitimate reason out there.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So I can bring that back to a future agenda for us to have a more.
It is on our list of things to talk about with council tomorrow. I'm meeting with Chris McGoldrick and Mr. Berger to review the RFP. After our meeting with Bruce, we decided we'll take a pass at the RFP and see what we think that looks like, and then we can advise you on what your options are, and then you can do whatever you'd like.
Okay. So we can do that as an agenda item or like a TA update? What do you
No, I
think?
would think we would do it as an agenda item, and then
Okay.
Mr. Spinney would probably come back.
Perfect.
Yep.
Love it here.
Yep.
All right. So nobody on Zoom had public comment?
Right here.
Oh, yes.
Tyler.
Tyler. In good seat.
Trevor, sorry.
Introduce myself.
We know who you are.
I guess I'd just like to reflect back on one-day beer and wine permits. I guess I'll step back a little bit further. When I believe it was Billy Richlick Jr. stood up here, he said that he wasn't looking to get this shut down. It was a great venue. We can see how it's sort of unfolding. I guess I want to know like the actual like law on one-day beer and wine permits. I'm just, cause like a little bit of reading that I have done states something like what we're doing isn't suitable for a one-day beer and wine permit through like the state or the ABCC. I know I should be up to date with laws and all that. I don't know. So I mean, I feel like you guys have a better idea just of what the, you know what I mean? The one-day beer and wine.
Yeah. Did you want to go through the
Sure.
guidance we got?
So this is found under special licenses, which are Mass General Law 138, Section 14, as well as 204 CMR 7. Specifically, in talking with the ABCC, they point you to 204 CMR 704, considered duration, which basically says no special license other than for a dining hall and an establishment that grants degrees shall permit sales on more than 30 days, nor may any person be granted a special license permitting sales on an aggregate of more than 30 days in any calendar year except for as authorized by 204 CMR 704, which then goes into talk about golf courses.
I think I have the same exact thing
Yep.
pulled up as you.
So according to the ABCC, person in this case is any individual, entity, address, or group which benefits from the proceeds of sales from said special license. So if you have an email you want to shoot me, I can send you the guidance that I have.
Well, I mean, I guess what I was asking is like, is it something that is doable for our type of operation that we're
Moving-
trying to do? Well, I'm just saying, like, is the 1-day beer and wine permit suitable for our business?
For 30 days it is. So 30 days in a year, we
So
can, we
for
can
like
do
our
that.
for our seasonal operation that we that like we presented at the beginning or in the winter,
if
it
you're-
isn't suitable for.
It's not a good fit if you want to do Friday, Saturday from, you know, May or June till October. It isn't, because you're not going to get, you're just bound by 30 days. The ABCC has said, the word says, you know, a person, but the person is defined as an entity, essentially. So they're saying you can't just bring different applicants which represent the same business. That business is the person that gets 30 days over the calendar year. So that's the rub that we're in, and they've also guided us to say that, you know, if we were to go ahead and knowing this and to move forward with granting, you know, more than 30 days, knowing what we know, we would be opening the town up to significant liability. So as much as we want to support your business, which we all do, I mean, I hope you're feeling love in terms of the board's trying to do everything that it possibly can.
So I guess what else is
we
there?
have to take the interests of the town first.
So I guess what else is there that you guys are willing to do for us as a business? I mean, I'm just saying, like, going forward, I know you
So
guys
at this time,
presented like
some of the things that we're willing to do are
adjust the
changing
dates.
the dates, and then our hands are kind of tied at that point. But that's the, you know, the suggestion of retaining counsel and getting some advice through them. That we can't really give you advice on how to run your business. But
No,
what
I'm not
yeah.
asking for that. I'm just asking for like moving forward because again, not putting like whatever, but the meeting that we had, we sort of presented our scope of business or what we were looking to do. I went out and spent all this money to prepare us for this business, and now I have 11 days, was it?
Oh, well, I think we're going to try to give you those 3, so hopefully maybe
So 14 days.
It's not something that, had we had known that, we would have given you the advice as soon as we could have. But we have to operate on the information we're given now. You know what I mean? Not the information we had then. Does that make sense?
I mean, not really following it, but like on the sense of like what the ABCC said, or
Right. The ABCC has changed what we thought we were allowed to do.
change the law, or
Well, they clarified it for us, and the reason it was clarified this way is because I guess in Boston they had an issue with beer gardens popping up, and in Boston a liquor license is big money, right? And so the people that had liquor licenses looked at these 1-day beer and wine licenses and these beer gardens saying, hey, they're skirting the rules, they're not paying all the money we are, and they were going to do a class action lawsuit. So the ABCC had to look at that closely and say, no, you can't do that. And that's why the ABCC came and told us you shouldn't do that. And now that we know we shouldn't do that, we really can't. Did that make sense?
yeah, no, I mean, yeah, I get it. And
If I'm understanding, you're still kind of hoping maybe we could.
Well, no,
run
just
an
like
event license,
being the
something that suits
licensing
you.
authority, just like, and I know there's a bunch of different other people that have to, like, I don't know, just moving, like, I don't know, it's just sort of,
I think we all wish we had an option.
If we could do it, we'd do it. Trust me, you wouldn't be standing here. But unfortunately, you know, The law is the law. It's 30 days. And that's it. There's nothing we can
For,
do
and you
past
said
that.
for one, what, entity or one?
No, well, so as Colleen said, in Boston, they had beer gardens, and what they used to do is that these beer gardens would pop up, and they would, every 30 days, they would change the manager's name. So as Evan read the law, you can change the manager's name, but the entity that is profiting from this is the same entity.
All right,
So you
could
can't.
Could I pull 30 days for Holden Farm? And
You,
not this
you-
sunflower
but see,
shanty?
you're profiting, you're a,
Yeah, but
an
a
owner of Holden
business
Farm.
is a business.
And you know what, if you were gonna do that, or you were gonna think about
I'm
doing
just,
that,
I'm asking as an officer.
I would talk to an attorney who has ABCC experience.
Right.
And they can tell you exactly what you can and what you can't do, and you may be able to do that, but we can't tell you can do that. The attorney who, with ABCC experience, can tell you exactly what you can do. They deal with this every single day. Well, not this, but, with ABCC, so. That's your best, I think that's your best move right now. It's unfortunate, and as Matt said, we all love the place. We've been there. It's just a great place in town, and we don't want to see
we
this.
thought it was,
We don't want to see this happen, but
Because, I mean, there's different avenues I guess I could go down too. I mean, I don't know. So,
We've also, I mean, this is, I understand the complaint, but we're also just talking about beer and wine at this point. It's not, we haven't ruled out entertainment, correct?
No, they have
No.
you have your
So
entertainment
you have your
license.
entertainment license.
right.
But, and I know it hurts, but at this point, yeah, it's beer and wine sales that we have to limit.
Right.
Have we closed the door on a non-golf course, like seasonal permit, or is that, or
No, I mean, there are, I think there are other
Avenues.
avenues. But again, you kind of need a attorney that specializes in liquor
Okay.
licenses.
All right.
All right.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't have stayed long, but can you BYOB?
You cannot.
Okay. So like in Millbury, when they ran out of licenses, there was
Yep.
restaurants that allowed you to bring your own.
We
So I
looked
talked-
into that.
I talked to the chief about that this morning. So in order to be able to do that, you need a bylaw that allows that use, which we do not have. We do
I
not
thought
have a
about that.
BYOB bylaw in place that allows it. So the towns around us, like Westboro, Millbury, they have things on the books that allow them to do that.
well, and I mean, the other course of action is like they start growing things like hops or investing in.
Right.
Oh,
They're
yeah,
like-
put a brewery on site, you're all
But
set.
then there's
You're,
other-
you're
yeah, there's
eligible
other-
for more
Yeah, and I
exemptions.
talked to you guys about the 19F exemption and all
Right,
that.
right. And I mean, but I think there's a bunch of hidden things in there as well. I'm just saying, like, not hidden, but just defined.
Definitely something you'd want legal counsel for.
Yeah, oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, I've learned that through this process. It's gonna be a lot easier moving forward just to get
Yeah.
what I need to get to take care of it. Perfect. Well, we'll be in touch.
We'll see you next
Okay.
week, right?
We'll see you next week and
All
probably
right,
the week
perfect.
after.
Just standing agenda item.
Between.
Great,
All right.
Thank you.
thank you.
All right. No meeting minutes, no executive session, so I can take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Declare the motion carried. Good night, everybody.